Imagine trusting someone with your life savings only to find out they've betrayed you. Or picture a music icon whose empire crumbles under the weight of shocking accusations. And what about a K-pop idol whose dazzling career masks a dark underbelly? These aren't just stories, they're cautionary tales of celebrity downfalls. We'll start with a woman who spun a web of lies, leaving athletes financially devastated. Peggy Fulford wasn't just a financial advisor. She was a master of illusion. To Dennis Rodman, Ricky Williams, and others, she was a trusted confidant, a Harvard-educated whiz with a golden touch. And behind the facade laid a cunning con artist. The conflict began with promise of structured investments and financial stability. Peggy painted a picture of wealth and expertise, gaining the athletes' trust. Then the deception. She raided their bank accounts, using their hard-earned money to fund her lavish lifestyle. Cars, jewelry, land, it all went to her. The turning point came when her victims discovered the betrayal. Lawsuits followed, exposing her lies. And in 2018, she faced the consequences. She received a 10-year prison sentence. Yet this story doesn't end there. Released early, she now resides in a halfway house, a stark contrast to the mansions she once enjoyed. But here's the human element. Even amidst the betrayal, Ricky Williams offered his forgiveness, a testament to a complex relationship with Peggy. It wasn't just a financial crime, it was a betrayal of trust, a story of lies. But what happens when the world finds out you dated a criminal years later? Well, that's what happened to J-Lo. Sean Diddy Combs, a name synonymous with hip-hop royalty, now faces a narrative far removed from his glamorous image. From the heights of fame and fortune, he plunged into a vortex of serious allegations. But back in 1999, Jennifer Lopez saw something else in Sean Diddy, a potential partner. These two had a bit of a love affair, if you will, but they had everything: the money, the fame, the success, but also the emotional turbulence, and even eventually legal troubles. However, during the relationship, reports say that Sean Diddy was infatuated with Kim Porter, who was the mother of his 3 children. Diddy and Kim Porter had an on and off again relationship. Kim even mentioning that Diddy and J-Lo's relationship was not real, saying he got caught up in the hype. My man is Mr. Hype. Kim said, pointing out that Sean was only attracted to Jennifer's star status. Another point worth noting is in an interview with Andy Cohen, Diddy confessed that he had fear of commitment, saying that he could never get married. And unfortunately for Jennifer Lopez, this would be the reason she would eventually leave Sean Diddy. In an interview with Vibe magazine in 2003, she mentioned his infidelity was the reason behind the broken relationship. She said, "I never caught him, but I just knew. He'd say something, he was going to a club for a couple hours, and then never came back that night. It was the first time I was with someone who wasn't faithful. I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. It really took my whole life in a tailspin," said the unstoppable star. But to make things more interesting, a reporter once asked Jennifer Lopez if she had any comments about Diddy and the allegations recently. Reports say she abruptly ended the signing event and distanced herself from the fans, walking away from her team. People from behind were requesting Jennifer not to leave, but their pleas went unheard and J-Lo was soon out of sight. We've seen what happens when stars date criminals. But what would happen if the star turned out to be the criminal themselves? Well, that's what we have in this case with a K-pop star. His involvement began with his position as a director of the Burning Suns nightclub, a hub of illicit activity. It wasn't merely about being part owner in this nightclub. It was about being an active participant. The scandal's initial spark, an alleged assault on a club goer, quickly exposed the club's darker operations. Seungri's participation in conversations about bribery and the sharing of illicit videos directly linked him to the scandal's core. His actions weren't just a lapse in judgment, they were a calculated involvement in criminal activities. The subsequent charges of bribery and other offenses weren't abstract accusations. They were a direct result of his documented communications and actions within chat rooms. The consequences from this were swift and severe. Facing public outrage and legal charges, Seungri announced his retirement from the entertainment industry in 2019. This wasn't merely a career setback, it was a forced exit. His legal battle continued. The 9 charges against him, ranging from gambling to prostitution meditation highlighted the extent of his involvement. This wasn't a case about being in the wrong place at the wrong time, it was a pattern of behavior that resulted in significant legal repercussions. With Say Angry, we've seen what happens when there's an individual a part of a bigger scandal. But what happens when the star themselves is just a lone wolf? This is a case of Rodney Alcala. Now, Rodney isn't necessarily what you would deem a celebrity, but he certainly achieved celebrity status after an incident in 1978. He made an appearance on The Dating Game, which would be a disturbing foreshadowing and a glimpse into the twisted mind of a serial killer.
Please welcome Rodney Alcala. Rod, welcome.
The suspense builds as we learn. What follows is a charming bachelor concealing a monstrous predator. The irony is palpable. A man seeking love on national television while simultaneously committing heinous crimes. And on top of that, he even beat out 2 other contestants on the dating show, winning, showing how even after he'd already killed someone, he could have a charming demeanor. Rodney would go on to kill more women and children, pretending to be a photographer and luring them into the final moments of their lives. In 2016, he was charged with Christina Thornton's murder, identified from a photo. His vast photography collection hinted at countless unidentified victims. The volume of his collection suggests a higher victim count. After being on California's death row, he died from a heart attack in 2021. This left a haunting legacy and unresolved grief for many. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching more crime videos on your screen right here.